So hopefully everybody's was it. All right. So we have 4 speakers at least, and if we have a little extra time, I have a few pictures I was going to show people. So I think we can start. Who would like to be the first presenter this evening?
We're sleepy. I'll do it.
All right, so we'll have Beth be the first speaker.
That's where. Oh, no. Yeah, you can go there, right? You can't go up this side. You're gonna do it day out of the month. So this first picture is you want me to sit there?
Sure.
How do I base it?
So just hit the right arrow.
Okay. This is the field trip we took to Caldwell Fields, and Bruce led the trip. And there's a butterfly that they spent a long time there taking a picture of. That's Nancy Adamson. She used to belong to our Native Plant Society. Some of you know her. And Bruce and Ellen. This is an old growth forest. And there's not just a little bit of this in there. It's patched all through. It's just amazing what comes up in there. And Bruce, one reason I took this is because Bruce wanted us to put some in alcohol so they could figure out what the pollinator was. And Bruce, they think it's thrips. Is that right? So they don't know exactly what it is yet, pollinator, right? Okay. So this plant, when it goes to seed, the little flowers down, like leaning down, and when it goes to seed, it goes straight up. So you can find some in the woods that have the seed heads. This is at the Montgomery Museum, and if I'd had time, I would. But anyway, this is called hickory peach gall. This is on small hickory tree there, and it's interesting because all of y'all understand it. When I see something like this, I get excited, but there are people, you work in a garden center. Oh my God, what can I do? But anyway, so it was at the end of the season. That's an insect gall. And the insect galls are really fascinating because I'm sure there's a lot of interesting genetics that happens there because they change the tissue growth of that plant to make their life cycle complete. That one's, this is another favorite of mine. This is on dogwood, and it's on not the flowering dogwood. This is on, nope. Oh, well, it could be there. It was on the alternate. It could be on the alternate dogwood. That might be. It was because last year it was on the Cornus ANOM in some M's and N's. I think it's silky dogwood anyway, and it just defoliated it. And this also defoliated some of these when I had them in pots. So and it defoliated the tree in our yard one time, but they defoliate and then they get new leaves. So this is a dogwood sawfly. So it's not a butterfly, it's not a caterpillar, but it has a metamorphic, the 4 stages of a metamorphosis. Is that correct? Then this is at the grasslands. It's not, I'm not supposed to say the M word. This is at Showalter property. If you're on Roanoke Street and you go past Southern States, some of us walked in there. It's near next to the Kiwanis Park. And you would not know that you were in there were 60 is good high quality landscape, and you'll see the tape there. They marked off 100 square feet. And these people are really good at what they're doing and identifying these plants. And they found 67 species in this one spot. And that's where the rattlesnake master is. There's Indian grass. That's what you're seeing grow there. So it's, I mean, for anybody else, it's just a weed patch, but to us, and so that's, huh? Right by Southern States. You can, if you look down the hill there, you can see the road, there's a road down there. So that's now I can't think of his name. He teaches at Tech. He had leukemia. I can't remember his name. But anyway, he was there with some of his students, and then the guy that's behind the woman there, he talked to us. Now I gotta remember his name. He sold us plants. I can't remember his name. Anyway, so he now works for Devin Floyd for Urban CHU or something. Urban Habitat, which is, he's probably going to change the name. So then this is another plot. This is the plot over on the Kiwanis Park plot. These both are under power lines. And the Kiwanis Park is going to be easier for me to get them to cooperate, but I'm still waiting for returns from that study. But the Showalters, I'm having issues with getting them to respond to me, but they did give me permission to go on that property. They still don't understand what I'm talking about, but so it's Dave Bellinger. It's David Bellinger. What's how you say it, Fred? Belank. Yeah. And this other kid, the one that's the second one from the left, he was about 19 and he was the major identifier besides Devin Floyd. He knew a lot of plants. And I asked him, when did you start showing interest? And he said when he was 9 years old. So, but he was identifying most of the plants that were there. And this plot had 45 species. And that's another insect gall. I forgot to look it up. It's on oak tree. I just looks like a marble. It's just fascinating. They're just fascinating. You would swear that was a marble. And this is, am I right, Bruce? Are you paying attention? These are beach drops, right? Is that right? Oh,
No, that's pine sap, Beth.
is that pine sap? Okay. All right. So this is pine sap. Oh, okay. I'm glad I didn't put any labels on this. So this was at the state meeting. Mary and I and Nicole and Rosemary and Lauren was there. We went to the state meeting, and if you have never been to a state meeting, go to a state meeting. You're just standing around with people who know all these stuff, and it's really amazing and fun to be with them, and you learn a lot. So this was at a hike that was we were at in Gloucester, Virginia is where this took place. This is a huge site where they're protecting it, and they've been doing it for years, and it's one of the best ones on the East Coast for preserving protect wildlife. And this is on the left, the Sally Anderson. I don't know who the other two folks are there, but they were, Mary was on that hike with me. They were there for a while, weren't they, Mary? On their hands and knees looking at this teeny tiny plant, trying to ID it.
Still finding.
Yeah, that day they found a couple new species that day.
That was what?
I don't know. And this is one thing that was on that hike. Does anybody know what that is? So if you look real close, there's an ant there. And then that is a mushroom. That's a zombied ant. So that's a mushroom growing out of that ant. And this is the mushroom right here. And there's a thread going out there. And then this is the ant. Well, it's a zombie. What happens is the fungus gets in them. Bruce, you correct me if I'm wrong. The fungus gets in them, and then it controls the ant, and it makes the ant go high, and the ant goes high, and then that way the spores get distributed. And these are not as unusual as you would think. I didn't see this one. Someone else saw it while they were standing there listening to him talk.
Is that ant dead?
Of course. Yes, it's very dead.
Did the mushroom kill the ant?
Yes, the mushroom will kill it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I get it now.
But what it does is it just like those insect galls are controlling the tissue of that plant, the same things happen here. This mushroom is controlling this ant and makes it. They're called zombies, and that's what happens. They just get under control. Well, we get funguses, right? Us humans get funguses.
Prevents fungal growth by too warm.
Oh. But I thought when you get foot fungus, it's because your body's too warm. You get that's a fungus, right? Or is it a yeast?
Well, they can be.
That'd be an external instead of an internal.
Internal. They're funguses, yes.
Gotcha. Okay. Oh, I'm done. Okay.
It's called yeah. Oh, I thought that was
That was a very nice presentation by Beth. So
You just go be on the farm if it's not getting dried up. No, it's actually.
Carol, would you like to go next?
And there's more than one species, it's a lot of those.
I'll get it started for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Then
Wait a minute, it says the fungus takes over the ants' bodies to control their minds.
and for the question about was the ant dead? Well, the mushroom exploded its head.
Okay,
There you go.
thank you.
And I'm checking out back here just so.
Okay, just in case.
Question.
There's great, that's great. Well, hello, folks. Thank you for coming. Thanks for taking time out of your evening to spend time with us. And I'm going to take you on a garden tour. My name is Carol Schwobel. And many long years ago, I went to a college in Virginia, in Lynchburg, Virginia. And the college was called Randolph-Macon Women's College. Okay, here we go. It was founded back in the 1800s, but they started letting men in a while back, so they had to change the name of the school. So it is now, oh, here we go. Let me see, sorry about that. Okay. The garden that I'm going to take you a tour on is called the Dorothy Cranwell Bliss Garden. I took a class in the either the late 60s or early 70s, and it was a 2-semester botany course. And the first semester was microscopic plants. The second semester was the higher plants. And this woman, I don't think she had her PhD when I took the class because we always called her Miss Bliss. So Miss Bliss got her PhD, I don't know when. She was a member of the faculty until 1983. And I found out many years later that, lo and behold, way back before this chapter started, I was a member of the Blue Ridge chapter. I found out that she was a member of the the Blue Ridge Wildflower Society. So then in 2008, the garden was dedicated to her. But it started quite a while before that. Let me see. It is now Randolph College, and this brick wall surrounds the entire college. And it is one of the gates that we're going to go through to see this garden. Well, here's the map of the campus. Let me see. Here we go. This sign that I just showed you is right about there. And you will see down here, the number 3 is the Dorothy Cranwell Bliss Garden, and it is situated right over here between these two buildings. This is the Martin Science Building, And right in front of it is a little greenhouse. That is to the left of the garden. To the right of the garden is the library, the Lipscomb Library. Okay. I was putting this together and I realized I didn't really know how this garden got to be there. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought the design is just masterful. And so I called the school and I was able to talk to another Dr. Bliss. And I found out she was no relation to Dr. Dorothy Bliss, which is very strange, but she teaches botany in the college now. So she told me all this great information, which is right here. Dorothy Bliss designed and selected the plant material, and she started clearing out that unkept, overgrown area between the two buildings. And she started that. If it was dedicated in 08, I thought, well, okay, these plants, these trees here in this garden are no more than 15 years old. And I thought some of them looked a little larger than that they would be in 15 years. So now I find out that it started being planted 10 years before that. So she also got some donations and created an endowed fund for the future maintenance. And there's people in this room, I think, that realize that if you have a garden, you got to maintain the doggone thing and you got to do it, and it takes money. So anyway, the larger plants were purchased, but others were grown in that little greenhouse that we'll see a picture of a little bit later. That current faculty member, Dr. Bliss, maintains the budget part of it. And one of Miss Bliss's, or Dr. Dorothy Bliss's, longtime friends, oversees the maintenance, and it is done by volunteers. And let me tell you, I did not see a single weed. I did not see a single invasive plant. I don't know how, must be an army of people that maintain this. It is just beautiful. Okay, this is the brick wall, surrounds the campus. And this is the entrance to that area. And when we walk in, first thing we see over to the right is a sign. And I want you to notice, where's the cursor? Oh, here we go. Back here is this little pond. And we're going to see that a little bit closer. And when I show you the picture that I took from the other side, you'll see where this sign is. Okay. The overall layout of the garden, before I start telling you what she's got planted there, needless to say, they're all native plants. And there's some really nice specimens here too. Okay, here's that little pond. It's actually two ponds. Okay, there we go. There's a little pond here, and then there's a little pond here. And back over here is where there's a runoff for the overflow. So the area is kind of wet. And I saw a cardinal flower blooming down there. And then there's this white plant. I don't know what it is. We're going to get a little bit better look at it later. But I'm thinking it might be Culver's root. I'm not familiar with that plant when it grows, so I'll depend on some of you to tell me. And there's a nice comfy bench over here. And then this is to the right of the entrance. To the left of the entrance, the garden is defined by these landscape timbers. And you can see this is a sunny part, so there is a lot of blooming plants here. You can see there's probably black-eyed Susans and coneflowers. Everything seems to be, I don't see like a clump of this and a clump of that. everything seems to be growing together really nicely. Let me see. And back here you can see there's this bench. And we're going to take a closer look at this. Right behind this bench is this small flowering tree. You can't really see it, but we'll see more of it a little bit later. Okay, and it's on a slope, which is just astonishing to me. It is not easy to create a garden on a slope, but here it is. And I presume that she started with the woody plants, which is, you know, the bones and the structure of the garden. And then she created these paths through it. The whole thing is planted with native plants. And behind, at the top of this walkway, is a stone wall. And I really like curving, disappearing paths and steps. I just love that look. But I really hate paths that don't go anywhere. But she has created this really nice seating area up here. There. Oops. Oh, yikes. What happened? Okay. There's another path. Most of the paths are not stone like those steps are, but this gravel path. And at the end of this path, which goes nowhere, is a seating area. And that's just a really nice way to define that parameter of the garden and also give you something to do when you get there. You don't go, oh, well, it's a dead end. What am I doing here? You just go, oh, a lovely place to sit. And it defines the right side of that garden. And this is a picture from the very top where that those stone steps took me up to the top. And you can see there's paths here. There's horizontal paths going right through there. Some of these trees are nice sized trees. Down here at the bottom is that pond again that we looked at before. And you can see that this is kind of the layout. There's sunny places, there's shady places, there's places that are a little bit more sunny, or a little bit less sunny, but it's a real nice mix of habitats in here. And this is, again, just a general idea of how the garden is. This horizontal path that goes up here. And right up here is that little bench again. And behind this tree here is that small flowering tree that we're going to take a look at a little bit later. Okay. And this is another view of that little pond, which is so nice. Okay. And this is that sign that we saw when we first came into the garden. There's this sign. And there's the spillway from the pond, and that's where this plant here is growing. Is that a Culver's root? What is that? Does anybody see? You think it's a Culver's root, right? Okay. Okay, great. Okay. And here's that little greenhouse where apparently they grew a lot of these plants that are in the garden here. Okay. Now we're going to look at some of the individual plants in the garden. And most of the trees, the structure of it, I thought was really, really interesting because they didn't have oaks and they didn't have pines and they didn't have gigantic sugar maple trees. All of the trees in this were generally small flowering understory trees. So there is Viburnum prunifolium. Oh my gosh, I had no idea that the trunk on this plant is so beautiful. And I cannot wait to get my hands on one of these because that is just spectacular. Yeah, I know. I know when you gave a tour of that. Yeah, this is Beth saying that there were a lot of them in the old growth forest. Okay, there's a sourwood, and that's a pretty big sourwood. And I thought this makes a good way to point out that here you have like there's ginger blooming, I mean growing here, and there's some geranium here. There's lots of other little plants, and they're all kind of mixed up together and growing just as they might grow if you were taking a stroll in the woods. And I don't know how they did this, but I think it's really spectacular. Okay. Then up close, let me see. This is the red buckeye, and I looked it up in the flora, and it's not listed. So I thought, uh-oh, well, must be native somewhere else, but it is native in the Midwest, apparently from Texas on up to Illinois. But it is a really nice tree, so it was included here. And again, you can see the undergrowth. There's bloodroot there. There's geranium. There's other plants that I can't identify. Mayapple. Yeah. And everything is just sort of mixed up together and just growing happily together. I'm sure there's a lot of competition going on, but anyway, it's just lovely. Okay, and we get the American holly, which is nice to have an evergreen in the mix. There's the downy serviceberry, and the trunk on this tree was what I looked at it and I thought, how can this only be 15 years old? This is really a big trunk for a tree. And again, at the base of it, you see there's a lot of mixture of perennials that are growing together. And then there's we have the Clethra alnifolia, which you might know is the coastal Clethra. It doesn't grow in the mountains where we are. And I have never seen the mountain Clethra anywhere for sale. If anybody knows where I can buy some, let me know.
First time I saw it was on the Highland.
Oh, yeah?
Ian had some, but I don't know if he still does it.
Oh,
Is it
okay.
great?
Oh, yeah, boy. I would love to get my hands on that. I do have the Clethra alnifolia, and it is incredibly fragrant when it blooms, and it has a nice yellow fall color too. Okay. And I have never seen or heard anybody promote this plant. It's a vine, the cross vine, Bignonia. But Beth and I worked at a nursery together way long years ago, and they sold that here. Remember Accent sold that plant? Oh, they have it at Crow's Nest? Is that right?
Doesn't like our.
Well,
I guess it's sad with you.
that's interesting because I know nothing much about that plant, and I haven't really heard about it as a native plant, but I looked it up, and oh my gosh, I'd really like to get my hands on that one too.
Have a really nice one that's protected by the house.
Oh, is that right?
One in the back dies to the ground.
Barb Glazer says that hers dies to the ground, but she has it in a protected place, and she's got it growing in her yard. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, it does. It grows right on up. I think that's what's in the Riverwalk. All over. This the one that you say you have two, one down back on the other. Is it blue?
Well, Barb Glazer says that it tends to be a little aggressive. It grows right up the tree, but it might be a good thing that it's a good plant, and it might be a good thing that it does die back because it's rather aggressive, she says. It's okay. All right, now, but coming up, the next is that little tree that I told you about behind that bench that is blooming. It is the Franklinia tree. Here it is. And it was in full bloom. It was absolutely gorgeous. And I just wish that the technology could create a picture that you could smell the fragrance. It is just it's one of a kind. It's unbelievable. It's just, it has this floral fragrance that is so, just so unique and so lightly floral. It's just marvelous. And I was there in July, mid-July, and if you want to see this thing in bloom, this is the time to go. It was wonderful. And I liked it so much, I took all these pictures of it, but just so that you can see not the bloom up close, but the habit of the tree. It looks a little bit like a sweet bay magnolia, but the fragrance of it is not that lemony scent. It's much more of a floral scent. But here it is, and you can see how what the habit is. And I didn't take many pictures of the perennials, but here is a stand of the maidenhair fern. And I was kayaking this summer, and I think it was at what is that dam? Anyway, it was below a dam south of here near Ivanhoe. But anyway, it was in the maidenhair fern was the most beautiful stand I've ever seen. It was in deep, deep shade. It was hanging over the water. It was very moist. And you can see this, it has a little bit of brown on it. I can't grow it in my yard because it's too dry. The shade is too dry. But when this plant is sited well, it can really be gorgeous. And then the skull cap was really pretty too. It was blooming so nicely. And again, everything seems to be, you know, growing together, very naturalized. It's very nice. Okay, these pictures were taken July 17th, this past summer. The garden is open to the public all day, every day. There's plenty of parking up the street, on campus, and also on the street. Thank you for attending.
I have another PowerPoint from Kerwin.
That's me.
Oh, that's you.
Hello.
All right. All right.
Okay, I just have one slide. These are all plants I saw at Buffalo Mountain in Floyd County, Virginia. And so I went hiking one day, and I love Buffalo Mountain because I always see a new plant that I've never seen before. And so on the left is Lilium canadense, which I didn't realize we had like a native orange lily. So that was kind of exciting because I'm only really familiar with the tiger lilies. In the middle is Monarda clinopodia. So this is similar to scarlet bee balm or regular bee balm, the one that's pink. And what's exciting is this one is native only to the southeastern Appalachians. And then on the right is Clematis Viorna. Not really sure if that's the correct pronunciation, but it's always fun to see clematis. I saw it for the first time this summer. So if you want to see some cool plants, you can head to Buffalo Mountain around July and see, like, I don't even know. This was just a couple from, I probably saw like 20 to 30 different plants on this hike. So if you want to see a lot of plants all in one day, Buffalo Mountain is definitely a good place for it. Thanks.
They're beautiful. Yeah. Buffalo Mountain's also an excellent place to go to see the spring ephemerals earlier in the year. So it's a lovely area with some very interesting plants, partially due to the unusual minerals that are in the rocks that form Buffalo Mountain. Yes, yes, it's a preserved natural area. Thank you. I think we have enough time. I'm just going to show a few pictures that I took this last year. I have no idea what this is, and which is why it's called Wahoo.
It's our native, like, but they're not native. Right?
So, at the meeting here, Beth has explained that this plant is called Wahoo. I saw this hiking at a place called Pilot Knob in Kentucky, and it was right on the trail. It's in your way. You have to kind of walk through all these beautiful blooms to go up to the top of Pilot Mountain, to Pilot Knob. So this is a magnolia. They are all over the Red River Gorge area, which has the most arches, natural stone arches of any place in the United States, and even more than Arches National Park. But this bloom is over 8 inches across. They're absolutely magnificent. And for the longest time, I was just looking at them with binoculars down well below me. And then finally, I found one at ground level, and they're absolutely spectacular. I work for a company in Wisconsin. I have to go up there. So I was going to the prairies up there, and they have something called the Ice Age Trail, and it follows the moraines across Wisconsin. It's about a 1,500-mile trail if you do it all. And all along the way, it goes through all these beautiful prairies where I saw this common yellow throat. I was following it around, and it's spectacular. And one of the plants I saw there I really liked was Golden Alexander. Then I found out it's a native. So at the native plant sale, I bought one. Now I have one of these beautiful yellow flowers in my garden in the backyard. I did a lot of trips to the Boy Scouts, and it turns out we were right in bloom when so this is a water willow, right? Yeah. And so this plant was in bloom all along the shores of the New River. Yeah, and it's just gorgeous. And so all the gravel bars from high water are just in bloom in the middle of the summer. I went and bought, Brenda Graff sold me a bunch of flowers, and she said, I think they're all red, but some might be blue. Well, it turns out they're all red. And while the hummingbirds, I have 3 feeders out, and there's always an alpha that beats up all the rest of them. It won't let them near the 3 well spread out feeders. And all the ones that get bullied end up going down to the cardinal flowers and enjoying it. So that was really fun because they're planted right outside my window. And so where I work. And so when I'm bored with work, I just look over the top of my terminal, my screens, and I see the hummingbirds. And I just threw in one last picture here. This fall, I had to go back to Wisconsin, and this is white snakeroot. And this plant is interesting because it grows in the shade. It is a late bloomer because this is mid-October and it was just finishing its bloom. It is also responsible for what's called milk sickness, which is a disease that killed Abraham Lincoln's mother. And this was at the Lincoln Boyhood National Monument in Indiana, because he was born in Kentucky, moved to Indiana, then he moved to Illinois. And so the woods there are just full of these beautiful white blooms late in the year. So I think we have one more speaker that I'm aware of. Bruce?
Side story on that one.
Yes.
Setting up is that the woman who discovered the milk sickness followed cattle around through the forest until she figured out they were eating this plant. And then she got people in Illinois and Indiana to stop the cattle from eating it. And it was 100 years later before it was actually, that she got credit for it. Of course.
Right, so so Barb Glazer's explained tonight that the milk sickness, which is caused by this plant, was figured out, and people started dealing with it 100 years after there'd been this big outbreak, and it's from the cattle would go in there and they were allowed to free range forage, and they were eating this particular plant, which was the toxin was passed on through the milk to the humans who were dying of this disease. And it was a woman that discovered it. What I should point out that if you go to the Lincoln Boyhood National Monument, they make a big story of that discovery. Yes.
Only took 100 years to figure it out.
The red one?
No, the one by the stream that looked like iris.
Oh, that was the water willow. Willow. Yeah, Virginia water willow, I believe is the proper name. This was the first
Yeah,
picture.
I know, I want to go back, because I didn't remember what I sent you.
Just not the page through it.
Yeah. Yeah. We just went through them all. I was trying to get back. Oh, that's what I was trying to get. Hi. All right, I guess I'm doing a program which I hadn't counted on doing. So Pat Wentz, Mary Ratliff, and I decided to go see if the Carolina Silver Bells were still in place in Parrott, Virginia, where the Bird Club used to go see them. So we drove over during the time that they were being seen blooming. And sure enough, they were still Carolina Silver Bells there. And as we were leaving, we saw a hillside covered with these little flowers. And I didn't know what they were, but thought they looked interesting. And Pat told me they're Appalachian Phacelia.
Right here.
Yeah. Mary Rhodes said her friend had run into a lovely lily, which she called a Carolina lily. Out by Pandapus this summer. So I went over and found a lily. And I never looked it up because, Mary Rhodes had said it was a Carolina lily. And it could be for all I know. So they're a little out of order. So this is the Silver Bells now. We're getting back to the Silver Bells. And I think this picture actually came, they're pretty much, they grow along the New River and only along the New River in Virginia, within a mile or so of the New River. But I believe this one is, the picture was actually taken in downtown Blacksburg because somebody's planted one at the Seeds Nature Center.
I think there's some other library.
Yeah.
Okay.
At Nellie's Cave Park.
Oh, at Nellie's Cave Park. Okay. And, I threw this picture in just because I'm an insect chaser, and dogbane is a really nice thing to go chasing them around, and this is over by Caldwell Fields. This is adjacent to the parking lot there. Just a ton of dog bane. And then this is my favorite place around here. This is the field also along Craig Creek. The National Forest biologist decided to create a place where the native wildflowers could grow, and they used fire maintenance to keep it as a field, and we get all kinds of amazing species in there. And I just took this picture this year just because I like going there. No, this is about a mile or so back this way from Caldwell Fields. It's but along Craig Creek there. And it's with all the Liatris. There's lots of other things too. Depending on when you get in there, there'll be butterfly weed, common milkweed, monardas, lots of different things growing in there. And so it's great for the insects through the summer. Actually, the picture that Beth showed where we were taking pictures of a butterfly under the forest was just by the road up, but just to the left of this and up by the road, because we had walked through here looking for butterflies that day on that trip. And okay, so these are lupin, and they grow up in Craig County. I find them there every year. There's 2 or 3 spots where I find them up there, although I usually only go to the one each year. But it's a nice stand of it up there, and I just don't see them around Montgomery County. But it's around one of the areas where I do some study. I have not found any. Well, the only one I know of would be one of the very rare around here, maybe non-existent. One of the elfins is associated with them, but I've never seen one in Virginia, so I don't know. Oh, and this is again over at Pandapis, the same day that I went over to find a lily, and I turned the wrong direction, and there was a nice pink lady slipper. Okay, we're all set.
All right, I believe that's everybody that I'm aware of that was going to present tonight. Pretty fabulous collection of photographs tonight. I really enjoyed it. Is there anybody that's online that wanted to present something? All right. It's 8:20 now, so as far as I know, I think we've concluded tonight's evening, because I see a lot of people here still looking at the goodies up front. So I'm really glad we had such a really interesting members night. I'd like to thank everybody that presented. Let me check the chat. Words. Okay.
Oh, Lake Reed, that's who was, on that grassland, that's who it's a document.
Right. I don't see any questions here, so I think we're all set for this evening.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I will cut that out. Okay, whose phone?
I have a,
Phone is
I have a
Bob
phone
Evans.
to return.
Mine. I couldn't take that, Brenda, but I.
Oh.
Yeah, I think
Anybody want any copies of the books over here?
Linda, be in on those. Sometimes it's.